Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, welcome to the Toronto Board of Trade's annual dinner. Bienvenue au Gala de Toronto Board of Trade.
One of the themes of tonight's dinner is social responsibility. Guy Laliberté has ingrained social consciousness into all of his endeavors. One Drop is the culmination of his commitments. One Drop is a non-profit organization that is driven to ensure that everyone in the world has access to clean and safe water. So the back cover of your program has a One Drop donation form. If you too believe that everyone on this planet deserves access to safe water, I would urge you to fill out the form, bring it to the after dinner with One Drop. Again, it's the back of your program. And what you just saw a few moments ago isn't the only signature Cirque du Soleil moment we have for you tonight. Take a look at your screens.
All for water, water for all. Peace.
I'm now pleased to welcome our next presenter, Doug McQuaig, Canadian President of Canada's homegrown provider of IT and business process services, CGI. CGI sponsored tonight's pre-dinner reception, and I trust you all had a good time at that. CGI's support is essential to the success of our annual dinner here. This year, however, CGI went above and beyond the call of duty in getting Guy Laliberté booked for tonight. So apparently someone from CGI tracked down our keynote speaker. He's not like an easy guy to book for things, and he tracked him down at 3 a.m., and he was at some far-flung locale in a bit of a groggy state. He answered the phone, Guy did, and somehow was convinced to accept the offer before him. This is apparently the tactics they teach at business school. So we are very glad that Guy did not have caller's remorse. He has kept his word, and he's here tonight. As to who called, I'll let Doug tell you that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of CGI Canada, Doug McQuaig.
Well, thank you, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As Gian mentioned, Guy did receive a call at 3 a.m., but luckily it wasn't from me. Most of the clients know I don't call until 4, and otherwise I might be a little bit nervous coming here. The late night call came from CGI's founder, Serge Godin, and I believe Guy was in Thailand, time zone. And even in his groggy state, he didn't hesitate to accept the invitation to be with us here tonight. I'm honored to be introducing Guy. CGI has been a longtime partner of Cirque du Soleil and to Guy's management team. Our two companies seem to have a natural fit, and it's been right from the beginning. I think it's because both CGI and Cirque started with a simple dream. Cirque began with a group of street performers who dreamt of sparkling the imaginations of audiences around the world. In 1976, Serge Godin founded CGI based on a dream to build a company dedicated on service quality and excellence. And today, with deep roots here in Canada, both organizations have grown to become global success stories. When I think of Cirque, I think of an organization that embodies creativity, innovation, global citizenship, and flawless execution, and we saw it tonight. Known for thrilling audiences around the world with shows like O, Zumanity, and now the newest show, Totem, coming to Toronto in August, Cirque also donates 1% of its annual revenues to social programs that make a difference. Guy Laliberté is a great Canadian. And now Guy has a new dream, a dream, as you heard in the video, of water for all and all for water. Founded in 2007, Guy's Foundation, One Drop, leverages the creativity of arts and culture to give rise to projects that inspire change and influence how safe water is shared and made accessible around the world. And it's a big reason why we wanted him here tonight. I'm also very excited to let everybody here know that the Toronto Board of Trade is honored to be helping out as well. Through your generous support of everyone here and the support of tonight's evening ticket sales, the Board of Trade will be making a donation to One Drop tonight. Now, Gian, I think you also wanted to say something as well.
Yes. Thank you, Doug. All right. So now, you may know that Guy Laliberté's his signature is the red nose. He wore it in space, and he has said that the world will be a better place if everyone was wearing a red nose. So, the Board of Trade team thought that it would be a good idea to surprise him by having the entire audience here wearing a red nose. So this is back to your little red balls. If you can pick up the red balls. And the way, has everybody figured out how to open this? Right, okay. So it's good at forearm exercise, actually. Hold the ball in your hand, and where the seam of the ball is, put your index finger on that, like that, right? And then squeeze, and it'll pop open. Oh, yeah, it's like popcorn. All right, so you squeeze, everybody got that? And then you open it, you'll find there's a little slit. There you go, yeah. So they need an industrial size one for me, but they didn't make these for Middle Eastern guys. Has everybody, I see you've all figured it out. Good job, nice. Kathleen, when everybody's wearing, all right. Doug, I think you might be peer pressured into something here. Yeah. Can we get a red note? There you got a red note. Doug wasn't sure he was going to do this, but now he's got the support of the room. A YouTube moment. Okay, back to your introduction.
Thank you. Who would have ever thought? So, ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome, please, the space-traveling clown, entrepreneur, entertainer, artist, Cirque du Soleil founder, and the One Drop chairperson. Please welcome Guy Laliberté.
Wow, wow, wow. I've never seen so many well-dressed clowns in my life. Thank you for the tribute. I really, really enjoyed this little moment. This is something at the beginning of SICK, all the people at SICK had one day envisioned the world, 6 billion people wearing a nose clown. So this is when Cirque du Soleil mission will be accomplished. I'm very touched. You notice here, I brought a little device that I bring with me when I do speech when I'm very nervous. So I am very nervous. And I want to just tell that this is to be used, not against any politician today, and not by the politician to get revenge against clown, but just in case that you're not happy of my performance, you could at any moment of this little 20 minutes, maybe I'll be speaking to you, come up stage and put it in on my face. So we're clear. I'm less nervous now. I want to also clarify the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning in Thailand. You have to understand that I was on a loving trip with my girlfriend. I was holding her in my arm after a nice dinner, and I get that phone call saying, Guy, do you want to speak with the trade in Toronto at the Board of Trade? I said, what? What is that? He said, yeah, this is the biggest organization, the biggest tribune you could have in Toronto. I said, I don't do that. I don't like to do those things. And then I had a little remorse because he's my friend, and I figured out he was on the mission. I said, but if they pay me, and I could decide on my topics, and I could talk about philanthropy, I will accept it. Then I hang up, saying, you will never accept. A couple of days after, he called my bluff, and here I am. So, Toronto, I'm very, very happy to be here with you tonight. For many reasons. But the first reason is because Toronto has been so good for Cirque du Soleil. You know, it was a tough first time in 1985, but from then on, Toronto has been supporting our shows, has been great supporter of everything we've done, and I'm very, very happy to be here tonight. I'm here to talk to you a little bit. They asked me to talk about a little bit of my journey. We'll be here until tomorrow morning if I go on and on and on talking about it. There's so many things that I could tell you. I could just start by saying I had an amazing journey. Every day of my life, I believe I had learned something new. I will try to go through a little bit of it and share it with you guys. It all started with mom and dad, of course. I had great parents, gave me love all the time. But I was a little stubborn kid who had his own ID. And the first things I remember that was important in my life was when this couple of little events when it was 8, 9, 10 years old. The first one was Expo 67 in Montreal. This is the first time I got my first passport. My mom brought me almost every day to visit this international exposition. And this is where I start to understand that I was not living only in a city, province, or a country, but on the planet. I discovered that there was other people from different color of skin that didn't speak the same language as me, and were dressing differently. So I was very, very curious and keep asking my mother, where are those places? And she would come back at home and show me around the planet which pavilion we visit the day, and she will point at me the country and where it was on the planet. So I start to say, wow, I would like to see those people where they live. The second thing that happened to me is that famous day when the first man walked on the moon, July 1969. I was in a summer camp, and everybody there got gathering around a black and white TV in the middle of the wood, and we were all there, little kids, watching that famous moment. And for me, it didn't trigger the dream of going in space or walking on the moon, but it told me, and I started to believe that the story that my parents were telling me, the fairy tale, were possible to live. So from that moment, you know, I start to answer people who ask me, what do you want to do when you be grown up? What kind of job you will want to do when you're older? And my answer was simply, I want to travel. I want to visit and see the world. So here I go. And I start to think about how fast could I start to travel. I was 14 years old, and the fastest way I found to travel was to pick up the accordion of my father, learn a couple of tunes, and hit the road as soon as possible. First, when I was at high school, I could do it on the weekend in the summer. And with my accordion, I could go on a corner of the street and get a couple of coins so I could eat during the day and keep on and keep on. But my dream, and I have to tell you, I was not very good at school and I had not very much interest. Beside the fact that they were giving me the opportunity of organizing things at school, I was in charge of all the activities, the traveling, the weekend parties and stuff like that. And I got notes about that. They gave me my notes, and I was able to finish my high school. And when I hit 18 years old, I told my parents, listen, I'll take a sabbatical year. That's what you tell your parents when you take a break. They said, what? I said, yes, I want to go in Europe for 1 year. I already bought my plane tickets, return, anytime. If things goes wrong, it could come back anytime. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. But I want to go at School of Life. And here I am, going in Europe, landing in Paris with $50 in my pocket, about 45 minutes of little corner of the street shows, telling stories, singing accordion tunes. and a year in front of me, which I believe had shaped pretty much what I had lived or my values for the rest of my life. I went on, and I suddenly discovered after a couple of months that I had my 3 meals a day every time that I was in Paris or in London working. People were giving me money, and I was able to get my food all the time. People were inviting me at their home. And I started to realize, I said, I am pretty lucky because I was living in the street, and I had my food. I was looking at other kids begging, mothers holding 2 kids in their hand, asking money, and not having the same money that I have, and not eating the same type of meal that I was having. So I certainly recognized at that moment that I certainly was living a privilege of having my 3 meals a day. The second thing that happened to me when I was in Europe is people, that live in the street work by one rule. Watch my back, I watch yours. And there's a very reason for that. There's a very big reason for that, because in the street, if in a fraction of a second you don't decide if you trust somebody or not, you could end up in a pretty bad shape. So this is something that helped me very much doing business, because when I went into the business environment later on, this moment is this capacity of feeling people and identify if you trust people was so important in many deals that I've done in the future. The third things that I learned in Europe, it's a very funny story, because I was hitchhiking most of the time, and one day it was pouring rain, and I got picked up after a couple of hours sitting in the corner of a street on the highway, and I got picked up by a doctor, a very wealthy doctor. He had the best car I ever seen in my life, being picked up by being a hitchhiker. And he was going just a little before the city that I was planning to be, but it was late at night. So after an hour ride, he said, I can't drop you there. He said, come at home, spend the night there, tomorrow I'll bring you in the city. So I said, great, I have a roof to sleep. I don't have to sleep under the bridge or in a youth hostel. I'll save some money and I'll have a good bed. And then he brought me at home. There was plenty of friends there that were waiting for dinner. He invited me for dinner, and I went to sleep. And the morning, I was still sleeping. And they'd wake me up to bring me to the city. So when he came back at night there, he said, well, you could stay here a couple of days. So I said, well, this is good food, good company. There's a pool out there. I could take the motorcycle. It's fun, it's perfect. After 5 days, we were playing chess every night. After 5 days, we had our little ritual of playing a chess game every night, and I suddenly I start to ask him, I said, why are you doing that to me? Why are you so generous? And he said to me, listen, one day when I was your age, somebody did the same thing to me. And I asked him the same question that you asked me today. And my answer is very simple. One day, the previous person told him, one day you'll have the opportunity of giving it back. And here I am. I'm giving back when somebody gave me one day. And then I learned, I think, one of the most fundamental things in my life: feed the circle of life, and life will feed you back. So those three major things, I had carried them up through since then. I had amazing encounters. And I came back with more money in my pocket. I had $75 in my pocket. My mom, my dad was very happy, expecting I will be going back to school. And I tell them, listen, I have another idea. I think, and I was explaining them that through my journey in Europe, beside the experience, and I didn't tell every experience that I lived there, but enough to tell them that I had a great journey, a great adventure. I left with the accordion to fulfill my dream of traveling, but while I was traveling there and entertaining people, I learned another thing: the pleasure of entertaining people. And then here I am, coming back in Quebec, full of energy, saying to my parents, listen, I think I want to be an artist or organizing things, and they look at me and they said, wait a minute, you told us that it was supposed to be a year, you're supposed to go back to school. So I said, I'm 19 years old, don't worry. If I screwed up on doing those things, I could always go back to school. And here I am going to Baie Saint Paul, meeting a bunch of amazing friends that as today are still some of my best friends. And we start to dream about how we could change the world, how we could entertain people differently. So we first start a little theater troops on stilts. Went around Quebec, didn't make a lot of money, but certainly entertained people, and we were, very original. Then after that, we started to organize a street performing festival, which was financially not that bad, actually. We just lost $20,000 in 2 years. And had a lot of fun. But built credibility toward our own community of street performer, and also got the attention of the government of Quebec, and certainly had a popular response for our audience and public and press opinion. So that was enough for the government of Quebec, who was at the edge of celebrating the 450th anniversary of discovering Canada, to invite us to propose a project. Here we are, first big negotiation of my life. I had to negotiate with government to get a contract, not a grant, and I want to precise that because many people think our first year was a funding by subvention. It was not. It was a contract hardly negotiated. We had to deal with layers of rules. We were in, could imagine the picture a little bit, bunch of little kids with long hair down the butt, saying, okay, we'll organize the first circus ever created in Canada and Quebec. And we believed in it. So we went through a series of negotiation. It was not easy, but fun. We made them laugh a little bit, like we still do when we make a negotiation. But there was a couple of people up there that did believe that the art form of circus or street performing was a valid one. The opinion they had about us was about pay them a sandwich and they entertain you for 30 minutes. And, we were not ballet, we were not classical music, we were not theater. So we arrived to a clash with the minister cultural minister of Quebec, and we had to serve and seize him a letter because we were so deep in the negotiation, so deep in the contract signing with the artist that we were stuck. But we sent him this cease and desist with a clown with balloon. And it's funny, I guess he took us seriously because the day after we resolved all the issue and we signed a contract. So we lived our first year as entrepreneur, as creator, in a very hard way. It was a lot of fun, but very difficult because we had no idea what circus business was. So we went on. The advantage we had was basically that we were doing cities around the major city before we entered Montreal and Quebec City. So we lived basically our first month as totally chaotic moment, very difficult. Our big top fell down the first time we met, and they were pulled there. The artist was not happy. We were late in preparing the show, but at least we were far away from television and people looking at us. So we got 1 month to put our act together, and when we got in this big city, we were so ready. Well, everything else in the organization of the celebration was not going well because they were doing only one-day event and stuff like that, so they were living their own problem. So we arrived in those city as almost savior for the event of the 450th anniversary of discovering Canada. So we were the little star. We became the success of the year of the event, and we end up having negotiated a $1.7 million contract, building up our expertise with the desire of continuing after that and create the first Canadian circus ever. So it was easy. The first year we had the contract. Then here we are facing our future with $50,000 profit. That was great. That was a lot of money back then. Engaging in a new venture, which was total alone entrepreneurship. And here we are with $50,000 having to basically engage another couple of $1 million of costs. Don't ask me how I signed all those contracts with only $50,000 to give us cash down or deposit, but we managed to engage all that with promises of government money, because we approached the government saying, okay, we have a deal with you. We will found the first circus. We'll create a lot of jobs. We'll do great business. We need 5 years of support. and we will decrease from 50% to 0% your contribution to or the success in helping us. So at the beginning they say no, and it took a lot of time. So for the first year in '85, we went into what we call exporting our first project. And the first exportation market that we went through was Ontario. There was 2 cities. It was Toronto and Niagara Falls. We all think that we were coming where the money was, coming out from Quebec. We're going and export our product. With the help of the Quebec delegation, we got introduced in Niagara Falls. I remember it was a CP tower back then, I don't know, something like that. We got the land there, and we made a deal. The study was, they told us there's 1-point-something million people passing there during the summer. You'll make a lot of money. Okay, we plant our tent there, make the opening. It was not too many people, but usually word by mouth goes in our business. The day after, there's not even 25 people in the big top for the show. So we start to scratch around and start to look into what was going on. There's nothing we've done to try to get people in the big top, but there was nothing that was making success happen. So we figured out pretty fast that, unfortunately, those 1-point-something million people, average stay was about 45 minutes. They were coming and see Niagara Falls and then head back either their room because they were on a honeymoon or get out of there. So we learned one big lesson then: make good study of your market before you make business decisions. And trust me, it stayed all our life after that. Then we came with Toronto, totally broken. Never had the money to put in our promotion, so it was very difficult first encounters. And here we end up the year, or the season, with a deficit of $750,000. So basically, you could understand that we were technically in bankrupt. Why we didn't bankrupt? Because we had an amazing banker. One of the rare that I ever met in my life. Because the first 41 look at me like if I was an alien when I first went to them. And there's one who said, well, listen, this might be a good project for Quebec. And he backed us up. He got about, I don't remember exactly the amount, but I remember how much check he let pass. There was a moment where we had no money in the bank account. So he called us. He said, well, could you please not make check over and above $5,000? A week after, he said, could you please don't make any check over and above $1,000? And it went down to $500. So he was already in for about $200,000 over and above the authorization he had. This is one individual. I still don't understand because I've never seen that again in my life. And then at the end, we said, well, we have to pay the salary of our artists because, they'll be there next year when they play for, and we cannot afford of having that community against us. So he allowed another $75,000 payroll to go. So basically, he permit about $300,000 of extra money over and above the authorization he had. Then we had supplier, and then Danielle is here today with us, is my ex-partner, Danielle Gauthier. And I remember being in the office saying, okay, we cannot let that go. We have a great product. It's just a question of reorganizing our finance and getting something going on for 1996. We were going to Vancouver for Expo 86. So we start to give a call to all our supplier and make deal with them. We pre-sign check, get a new negotiation with the Quebec Government Bank, Cultural Bank, that we were asking about $600,000 or $700,000. They came back with an offer at $350,000. We said, we're not accepting it. We could have paid all our debt, basically, but we said, if you do that, you're the one who will end up with the debt. We need $600,000. So we renegotiate, and finally, we got all the money to refinance our debt. And as I remember, there was only one creditors that need the money and threat us of going to court or put it in default. So what I had learned during that period of time is the relationship with your supplier, with the people you do business, is so important that transparency is probably at the foundation and trust is at the foundation of any business relationship. And those people or supplier, this banker, this bank, this little bank is still our partner, and they've been there since 26 years. So after that, 86 was the a very amazing year for us because we did a pan-Canadian tour. And within the third year, we basically reimbursed our debt. We had $750,000 profit, so we're basically break even. So now we're ready for exportation. And the big year for Cirque du Soleil in terms of its international achievement was basically to conquer the United States. There was no way we could live and grow as a business if we were performing only in Canada. You know, it's too cold, too long. We need at least 9 months, and there's no way you could perform under -20 in Quebec City and getting people to come and buy some tickets. So we had to go and export in the States. And for me, it was either New York or Los Angeles. Internally, we had a lot of debate because people were thinking about doing more step-by-step thing, going in Vermont, Plattsburgh, Burlington. I said, no. We have to go where the big people are, the big bucks is, where the press, the stars, and there's only two places. And thanks to the Los Angeles Art Festival, there was a big event in Los Angeles in '87 that we've been able to manage to get one thing, basically only one thing, the opening shows of their festival, because we arrived too late in the negotiation. They had no money to pay us or guarantee us everything. So we basically banked all our money in one trip. It could have been a one trip, no return. It was definitely a live or die in LA. But at that moment, we did that first show. We asked them, just bring stars. If the stars liked our show, everybody will like it. And this is exactly what happened. We had that opening shows on September 1987. And then basically, we became a huge success there. We became the taste of the month. We became the little, I don't know, exotic little jumping clown from Quebec. Everybody liked us, and we did a lot of money that year. But more than that, people were coming to us all the time with their business card. We're a promoter, we could make your life good. And I had to learn another lesson there. There was Columbia Picture, which was a big movie company back then. Don Steele approached us and wanted to make a deal to make a movie about Cirque du Soleil. Listen, we're 27 years old, we're arriving in LA, now they want to do a movie about us. Great. So we negotiate all those things, and beside the fact that we'll have exposure, we had a couple of $1 million in our bank account extra than the sale of the tickets. And unfortunately, on the day that we announced the partnership during a performance of Cirque du Soleil, every star and everybody that she was introducing me, she barely introduced me to them. And we gave them the tickets to sit us, and when it was time to sit, I was sit in the back row of my own big top. So I walked out of the big top, called my lawyers, and said, I'm not making a deal. I suddenly realized that those people was trying to buy my brand and lock me in for the rest of my life. Thank God she set me in the last row, because then I understand how to learn one thing: protect your product, protect your things, and don't compromise to nobody. Don't sell your soul. It's tough sometimes, but it's important to keep on that, because at the end, this is the one thing that is the most important, is preserving the fundamental of what you believe in. So of course, then we conquer New York. And the story of Cirque du Soleil is, we had a little tough moment in '89. Success growth, like any company that goes through from family business to a small business to an international, small, big, medium, big size continent, all of that. But the biggest moment and the biggest threat to the company was in 1989, after our success, where there was an internal crisis. It was a growth crisis. We went through that like any company who go through growth. And the only thing that preserved us or failing and basically die of our success and of our crisis was the fact that we had the capability of connecting directly with our employees, to come back to them and say, listen, we know that we are not perfect, recognizing that we were still learning and adapting to our growth. But the most important things that we went through and the decision we made back then was really to go back and be close to our employees and our artists and making sure that they were understanding and that we were listening to what they had to say in terms of recommendation and what they would like to. And with them, we basically make a new deal for future growth. And and since then, in 1990, we went back on the road with 2 new shows, and since then we never looked back at the back in terms of profit, in terms of achievement. So for me, if there's something I want to tell you today, and I don't know if there's people who are pretty much good in business, I have no lesson to give, but there's one thing that I always said to people: your employees are the heart and soul of your company, and it's important, even if you cannot always give them the answer they want, but I think it's important that the dialogue keep going. So since 1990, the history of Cirque is basically 111 million people have seen our show. You have creating 28 unique different shows. We have gross $8 billion in revenue and ticket sales. We have over 5,000 employees today. We have visited 283 cities in 36 countries on 5 continents. And we have over 15 artists. An amazing journey for a street performer. I believe that over 25 years, we have found a pretty good balance between art and business. But at the end, there's another major component in my business is our audience. We live or die from our audience, and our public is king. So this is another thing that, for us, on a daily basis, we always cherish, is we're creating a very strong bonding relationship with our public. For me, there's the challenge for the future is mainly in regard of assuring and multiplying the creative teams, ensuring creative legacy for our future, and keeping strong top management team that is dedicated and supporting. I have 4 rules now in the business I'm doing. When I decide to do a project, we need in every of our project to qualify in 4 many precise field. First, a creative challenge. We need to be excited for what we want to do. Second, the choice of partner. I want to do business with people that I will have fun and pleasure, even if we have to be tough with each other, but at least I need to evaluate that we could have a lot of fun to do with our thing. Of course, we need to evaluate the fact that we could do money with it. This is part of our business entrepreneurial goals. But also, the 4th element is we need to find some social commitment in our partnership. We need to engage ourselves in each of our projects to give back what life gives us. So our first step in the adventure was to create Cirque du Monde very early in Cirque du Soleil history. The Cirque du Monde project was about giving back to where we come from, not remembering where we come from. And this is from the street. So our first project, philanthropic project, was related to children living in the street. So we engage ourselves and dedicate 1% of our revenue to this foundation that we share since now 17 years. We've been around all the world helping kids in the street. And this is something that is Cirque du Soleil, very active presence in the philanthropic way. So then, close to the 25th anniversary of Cirque du Soleil, I started to reflect. I said, how could we celebrate those 25 years? And obviously, there was 2 choices I had. The first one, celebrate in fame and go out there and put up firecracker all over the planet and say how good we are. But at Cirque du Soleil, this is not the way we think. We said, this is an opportunity to make another stronger project, a commitment for the next 25 years. And I started to reflect. I said, okay, we will celebrate among the family of Cirque, a little bit with our partners, but let's do something that will create a huge impact and a great commitment for the next 25 years. So I started to reflect about a philanthropic cause that we will engage Cirque du Soleil and myself for the next 25 years. And I started to reflect, which cause? So as much I was looking into different different things, I was looking at health, environment, education, situation of women in the world, biodiversity, pollution, global warming. And suddenly everything that was looking into in terms of humanitarian situation, water was always at the center of it. And suddenly I look into a little deeper. Of course I was inspired by the notion of water, but I was also touched by the fact of realizing that there was one person every 8 seconds dying of not having access to clean water. So for me it was, let's go. And then suddenly I realized that there was no boundaries for water, that there were no leaders for water. It is a global issue for a global future. It is also the source for a global commitment. For me, it was simply source of life. So I engaged not only myself by committing $100 million of my money, but also having Cirque du Soleil engage itself for a 25-year relationship with One Drop. You know, when we did Cirque du Soleil, there was that famous book called Blue Ocean Strategy was written. I'm sure a lot of you people wrote about it. The author, when he dedicated the book to me, and because he's using a lot of Cirque du Soleil example, challenged me to do another blue water project. And you know, I already had realized one, and I had no intention of starting another business of that scale. But it influenced and it challenged me to do it in a philanthropic environment. So when we start One Drop, we want to do it differently. We were coming in the philanthropic world at a big scale with our own experience at Cirque du Soleil, which is entertaining and touching people with art. I truly believe that when you use art as a communication tools, it certainly stays stronger and longer in the art and in the emotional body of a person, instead of taking a hammer and hit on the head all the time. This is hurt and it make an impact on short terms, but usually long terms, it doesn't stay very long. So we decided to do project in regard of water in three aspects. First, we know that there's people in need of water, so we decided to do project and field project. The other aspect was to educate people and sensibilize people, especially in northern and developed country, because unfortunately we were born and raised in countries, especially in Canada, where this little liquid, we've been basically not informed that this is not it's not infinite. You know, when I was young, nobody told me that, you know, we have the same water that dinosaurs had back then. But now we are more people, more species on this planet, and there's more need of clean water. The other things we do is also we make advocacy to our government without being activists, because I think we like to, like I said, talk in a different way and do things in a different way. But it's important to make sure that every level of a society is involved. You know, we have a government, and especially here in Canada, and my dream is very simple. I hope Canada and people of Canada, individual company, government, provincial, city, and or federal government will engage in supporting and being leaders around the world about showing that water and taking action into water. This is one dream I had. Hopefully we'll be able to convince everybody in Canada to go in that thing. In regard of the project on the field, we have a tripod approach. We're very, very accurate. You know, we do field work, but our tripod approach is about bringing technology and bringing technical resource and expertise, but also take the times of integrated society, understanding the culture of those countries in terms of educate them and showing them how to use those technology. And also the other aspect is because we want to create an economy surrounding with water project as we bring in microcredit. So those are projects that we had basically developed in an expertise that we had developed over the past past couple years. And now we're ready to go out there. We had made some tests that we had financed in terms of field project, in terms of education and project with Aqua, and also we're now in place with a great administration board. We already have made project in different countries, Nicaragua South, Haiti, Honduras, El Salvador. We're opening a project in India next year, in Africa, Burkina Faso next year. So we're very engaged in field project. And, you know, I just see my role to use my voice and my artistic know-how. My voice is only a tool for my dream in that sense. My dream is only a tool to nourish my belief in humanity. Humanity is the solution to achieve the dream. I believe in human dignity. I believe in humanity. It's as simple as that. So today, I'm telling you my little story. I'm telling you a little bit about One Drop. I invite you to know a little bit more about the situation of water. You know, we just want to create a great, great ripple effect. And we will be back in Toronto in September. We'll have some event with One Drop. We just encourage you of joining this ripple effect and this wave that I believe we could be covering a big part of this planet. And at the end, I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of people that will be saved from some of the action that we will do. So we're looking for partners, and I hope in this room, people will see themselves as partners and will be interested in joining force with us. On the last note, very personal, you know, people ask me a lot of questions about the space trip I've done. Yes, I went in space. It was a great journey. People think it was just a trip sometime of a rich person who could afford such a trip. Yes, it was. But it was also something different. You know, I was 50 years old. People will say also that it was a 50 years old crisis. It was not. But it was something that was very deeply inside myself. I need a personal challenge. You know, with circa 25 years success, I went on, and I basically, I think, mastered pretty much creating great shows, and also mastering of finding great people to manage the company. But I was having that feeling of emptiness. And, you know, when I was in the street, there's one thing that I never been able to bring in the 25 years Cirque du Soleil, is this sense of liberty when you wake up in the morning, wherever you are on the planet, when you live in the street, you could decide to go north, south, east, west, with the total freedom. When I start to engage in Cirque du Soleil, this is something I give up. I have no regret. I have the best life that I could ever imagine. And I will never take the risk of trying to start back to get a better one. This is a done deal. But I need something personal, as a personal challenge. So I had that little feeling of emptiness. And when I decided to go and do that trip, you know, beside the fact that I encountered an amazing community of people, for one time I was the one who being told to do something. I would live 5 months in a little 2.5 apartment. I had to take my little bicycle to paddle to go to the class. I encountered an amazing community of people that I was for one time being told the story and not telling the story. So I prepared myself for 5 months. And suddenly, when the countdown was, I was in peace with myself. I didn't nurture fear. I just evaluate danger before I made some decision. But when that countdown started and that they light up that little fuel under my, it was an amazing feeling, because I knew at that moment that I was where I want to be, and I was achieving something very, very personal, only for myself. And that was good after 25 years of doing things, not only for myself, but also for a community of people. So what I want to say by that, and the journey was amazing. You know, the other thing, it was pretty emotional, but also very physical. And, you know, when I was up there, it amazed me to look, and there was a moment, and I will always remember, there was a moment that I was looking at planet Earth in reference or in regards of, you know, in scale of the universe. And you know what, as far I was looking away, you know, I was not seeing anything else that was so beautiful than planet Earth. But I was seeing Earth with this little membrane, very fragile in regard of the universe. And that was scary, because this tells us, and from my side view, you know, I was looking for other paradise, but I didn't see none of them. The one I saw the first and the closest was planet Earth. And then suddenly I look at planet Earth, and you could see the volcano and the tornado and all those movements on Earth. And suddenly you recognize that this planet has been there for millions of years. And then I start to realize and compare in scale of humankind. Then I said, wait a minute, maybe we're just another species going through this life of Gaia, of planet Earth. You know, and this planet got rid of many, many species for many different reasons. So I was just starting to hope to say, okay, but the difference with our species is they gave us a brain and they gave us a heart. And I was starting to wish that one day this population of people will use his brain and his heart to get all together to make a better world. So I encourage you to just be sensitive to things in life. Thank you very much, everybody.